This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
All right, my dear friends, welcome to the Start Spreading the News Yankee podcast. We are here every single Monday at 9 p.m., mostly live, like tonight. And right now, the New York Yankees have scored in their game through 7 innings, exactly 0 runs. That is correct. The Yankees, who were shut out by the Red Sox yesterday, are being shut out again. The only good news is the California Angels of Anaheim of Los Angeles, or whatever they're called, they also do not have any runs. So it's a 0-0 tie. And once again, this is the Start Spreading the News Yankee podcast.
It just might be the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports. A place where legends are made, and there's always something to talk about. Get ready to immerse yourself in pinstripes. Start Spreading the News, hosted by Paul Semendinger and E.J. Fagan, a couple of doctors with a prescription for Yankee fever. And now, here's Dr. Paul Semendinger and Dr. E.J. Fagan. Get ready to start spreading the news.
All right, so here we are. E.J. Fagan is on his way. He is tied up right now in traffic. That traffic could be on the roads, or it could be something just in his house taking care of family business. A reminder that this program is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing. Artemisia, a traditional publisher located in New Mexico in the good old United States of America, has a plethora of titles in a plethora of genres, including many sports books. There's Lincoln Mitchell's 100 Most Influential Baseball Players in History. There's Rob Skeed's children's story about Johnny Vandermeer's double no-hitters. And there's my Roy White book, my book about the Yankees, The Least Among Them. There's my running book, 365.2, and of course, the greatest novel ever written anywhere in the history of forever, on par with any of the greats. There's Mark Twain, there's Charles Dickens, there's Herman Melville, there's Ernest Hemingway. You could go down the list. There's all of them. And then there's me and the wonderful novel I wrote, Scattering the Ashes. If you haven't read it yet, you need to. So, of course, smile when I say stuff like that. I am not really considering myself equal to them, but it is a great novel. So let me remind everyone also to take the time to appreciate the world around you, find the good, appreciate the good, and spread it forward. Remember that when we share love, when we give love, it comes back to us in greater amounts than we ever gave. And one last note. Yes, I'm wearing an Orioles hat. Every time I wear the Orioles hat, people get a little bent out of shape. They go, "What are you, an Orioles fan?" No. You can't see it anymore because it's faded. In 2004, that's like 21 years ago, I ran the Baltimore Marathon, and this is my hat from the marathon. And it's my beach hat. You can see how faded it is. I'm at the beach, and so I wear the hat here because I don't have a Yankees hat here. Now, you could criticize me and say you need to get a Yankees hat for the beach. That's correct. But in the meantime, I have this Baltimore Marathon hat. But speaking of people with Yankee hats, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce my friend who I haven't seen in about 3 weeks, the great, the brilliant, the wonderful Dr. E.J. Fagan.
Hi, Paul.
Hey, doctor.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm all right. It's been a wonderful Father's Day. I had my first Father's Day as a father, kind of fun. And the Yankees have the Red Sox have given me something to talk about. That's not the current Yankees situation.
All right, so there's so much to talk about, EJ.
Yeah.
And I have a sense that there might be some things we agree, I don't know, maybe 85% of the time or so, but sometimes we disagree. And I think there might be a few disagreements here. So let's start with the Red Sox and the trade of Rafael Devers.
Crazy. Yeah. I mean, look, I think it's a crazy move. It's a terrible move. You have I think Devers is a little overrated. I don't think he's an MVP kind of caliber guy, but he's your best hitter. He's the guy who's selling jerseys, right? Like you go to a Red Sox game, see how many Devers jerseys there are. There's a lot, right? More than anyone else by a mile. He's only 28 years old. He's on a very reasonable contract, having a great season, and you trade him for basically nothing. It's crazy.
We're going to disagree because if I were the Red Sox, I would trade him for basically nothing. If the Giants gave me nothing, I would have made that trade. But they got 4 players. Now, those 4 players might not turn out to be anything, but I don't think it's a reasonable contract. It's like $33 million a year through 2033. That's a long time for a guy that can't play defense, and it's just a DH.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. just got a very, very large contract. Can't play defense. He's a little younger, but he's the average annual value after he's Rafael Devers' age is huge increase. Like David Ortiz was a player who got what was really good deep into his 30s and kind of got these kind of contracts. I don't know. Like I think it's a reasonable deal. I think $28 million is going to look kind of cheap in a few years. I mean,
but it's not 28; it's 33.
I think it's 28 average annual value is the actual the cap hit. But like either way, it's like Rafael Devers, I think that was a reasonable contract. Is he he's a little overrated maybe, but he could also be a 5-win DH, which is pretty great. I mean, 905 OPS in today's game is pretty incredible. He kind of has remade his swing in some interesting ways this season and has just been performing over his head. I think that there's a temptation to win the GM game, not win the baseball game, right? Like the GM game is like, well, yeah, he's a little overpaid and, we got out from under that contract and maybe 3 years from now we can go out and reinvest into somebody else. This is a worse team without him. You hope that some of those prospects, the ones they have in the team or the ones they got, evolve into somebody who can, reliably be a 130 OPS plus hitter or better. And on top of all that, he's a Yankee killer. He's a real Yankee killer. Garrett Cole's ERA just went down. And so like I don't think you trade. I don't think this is a baseball move. Right? I think it's an off-field move. And maybe there's a good case for that, right? Maybe the off-field stuff is related to baseball. But I think
he's been a problem in the clubhouse. He's not getting along. He loafed on a ground ball. If he had done that as a Yankee, we would have been going crazy.
I mean, if Aaron Judge loafs on a ground ball, we're okay with it because he's hitting well, right? Like this is a lesser version of that. Like David Ortiz didn't run out every ground ball.
No, but this was like a play and he just stopped. He was
look, I don't think he's like Rafael Devers is he is a hitter. That's all he does. And he's one of the better ones. I think you can exaggerate how good he is. And again, I think the fact that the Red Sox have traded everybody but him makes him look better or made him look better until they trade him. That he's the last guy of the Mookie Betts, Sander Bogarts, et cetera, group of players. He had a 401 on base this year. So he started taking walks. If you look at his numbers, he did a really good job of laying off pitches out of the zone this season in a way he's never done before. Maybe some pressure from Bregman or the move to DH has helped him there. I mean, like I think that I'm not saying that this isn't largely Devers' fault, but the breakdown in relations between him and the team is fascinating. And we're talking about a star player. We're talking about the guy who sells the jerseys. And like, I can't imagine, Aaron Judge right now is kind of playing out of his mind, but imagine Aaron Judge before the 2022 breakout. 2021 Aaron Judge is in this situation. He signs a long-term deal and then, gets into a spat with management and gets traded, right away, mid-season. Look, the Red Sox are half a game out of the wild card and they just trade their best hitter. This is a dysfunctional team. And, it's good because they have a lot of young players. And if they were functional, maybe the Yankees would be in trouble. But I'm not too worried about them right now. This is a little nuts.
All right, so we're going to disagree on Devers. I think it was a brilliant move by the Red Sox. You get rid of a guy. I don't think he's going to age well. He's a one-dimensional player. He's not getting along with his teammates. He wants to play third base. He can't play third base. And he's going to get $33 million. I think the number is 31 to $33 million through 2033. If that contract were on the Yankees, everybody would be saying the Yankees have to get rid of this guy. He's one-dimensional. All he can do.
No, but he's actually hitting. Imagine if Giancarlo Stanton was hitting. That's what you got. Right. And in fact, he's a little better than Giancarlo Stanton because he can still play the field a little bit.
He really can't, though. He's
not well, but I mean, Giancarlo Stanton can't play the outfield without breaking down. I mean, he's younger than Devers, and Devers might be in that same state when he's Giancarlo Stanton's age, but that'll be many more years of production between now and then.
No, we'll see. We're going to save this episode in 5 years.
I mean, sure, but the Giants. I think Giants fans are excited right now, right? Like they got a slugger. They got a guy in the middle of their lineup that they've been looking for a long time.
That is correct.
And now the next time the Yankees face the Red Sox, who's their number 4 hitter? Carlos Narvaez, right? I mean and Alex Bregman could leave them too, and all of a sudden you're really betting on a bunch of prospects. I think the problem when you're betting on a large group of young players to be elites is that the probability of 1 or 2 of them hitting is high. The probability of 3, 4, 5 of them hitting is low. This is the Orioles problem, where the Orioles had all these great young players, and they're probably going to get 1 or 2 guys out of it. But you need some ballast, right? You need something to some certainty to take advantage of those guys who end up being good, and then you can jettison the guys who aren't very bad. They have no ballast, right? If Bregman leaves that team because he's an opt-out clause, what do you do, right? Like who do you sign? I mean, I think you end up in a situation where you're just kind of hoping that like 4 or 5 star players emerge from this group of players. You don't have a lot of pitching. I don't think the Red Sox are serious rivals to the Yankees right now. It's rough.
All right, let me give you a scenario. What if the Red Sox realize they're not really serious rivals to the Yankees? They do their own internal looking,
Sure.
And they're saying, like, you know what? This team isn't going to go anywhere for the next year or two. There are mirages. You play well for a period
then
of time.
Rafael Devers, 31 years old, is probably he hasn't shown no signs of decline. Right, he's having his best hitting season ever right now. A little guy named Aaron Judge didn't break out till he was 30. For a bat first DH, I see no reason why you'd expect Devers not to be good when the next window opens for the Red Sox. And again, he's not getting paid that much money. I mean, he's getting paid like Carlos Rodon's salary or something. Not that different.
I think it's like $6 million more. Again, I would look this up. Rodon's
let me look it up. Let me look up his cap hit right here. So his.
All right. So there's a difference here between cap hit and what they're getting paid.
Oh, I care about their cap hit, right? At least I think the Yankees care about their cap hit. I don't know about the Red Sox. Like the cap, the actual average annual value, he's getting paid 29.6. That's not bad. Alex Bregman's average annual value, now there's deferred money in there, so I don't really know what the real number is 40. Right. Vlad Guerrero Jr. just signed a $700 million deal or whatever it is. Juan Soto's getting paid a ton. Devers is, I think,
Devers
a step below those guys.
29.5 next year.
Yeah.
And then 33, 33, 33, 33, 31, 31, 31. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but inflation's a thing. 10 years from now, that I don't like. I think it's a big contract. It was a $300 million contract when he signed it, but compare him to the other guys on the Giants right now. I don't know if you have the roster resource page open for the Giants.
I do not.
Right. So Willy Adames just signed a 7-year, $182 million deal. It's a $26 million average annual value. Willy Adames is a far inferior player to Rafael Devers, especially as a hitter, and especially this season where he's been just kind of bad. Matt Chapman, who's 32 years old, signed a 6-year, $151 million extension. That's a $25 million average annual value. I mean, this is, these players are this is the going rate for wins. And
yes, but let me just go back to Rodon. 27, so he's $2 million less this year. but then 27-8-33, but 27-8-33 next year, the year after, and then the year after, but then he's done. That's 2028. You're still paying Devers 29, 30, 31, 32, 33.
That's what you got to do to pay. If he was a free agent, I think he'd get something close to that based upon what other guys have been getting.
I think the Red Sox were brilliant. It was great.
I mean, here's the other thing is the Red Sox have to reinvest that money for it to be brilliant, right?
Well,
as a baseball team, right? As a business, sure, I mean, they can keep selling seats to Fenway Park all they want, right? But as a baseball team, like I don't know what you spend it on. They're gonna go buy some pitching, maybe. I mean, they've been kind of bad at spending money lately. If you look at their roster right now, it's a mess. And can you find another hitter? Are they going to go sign Kyle Tucker? I don't know. I don't think so. It doesn't feel like it. Are they going to re-sign Bregman? Maybe. I don't know.
All right. So if the Red Sox go out this winter and use that money and sign Kyle Tucker,
money is fungible. I think they could probably do both if they really wanted to.
Yeah, right. The Yankees could do that too. They could have signed Bryce Harper, but the question is, can they and would they?
Well, yes and no. Right? Like the Red Sox are not maxed out at the moment. Like the Red Sox current team payroll now without Devers is $180 million. And there's a lot of weak sauce on that payroll, right? They're paying Aroldis Chapman 10.7. They just took on Jordan Hicks's contract for another 3 years, 12.5 per year. Jordan Hicks has been awful, right? They're paying Masataka Yoshida a bunch of money. Lucas Giolito is coming off the payroll. Like Walker Buehler, they have money and flexibility to spend. I don't think you can. I just don't think this is a business move. Like if this was a business move, they would have done it during the offseason. They did it after all the drama. This is a drama move. And I think that the Giants are happy to take that contract because the Giants, they have been trying to find someone to take their money for a while. They try to get Aaron Judge to come there. They try to get Juan Soto to come there.
That is
right.
Correct.
And so you trade for a guy without a no trade clause and you solve that problem for yourself. I think that tells you that this is a good deal because he wouldn't have been available if not for the drama. Now, again, whose fault it is in the drama. Like I think it's probably both sides' fault.
Usually, right? When anybody has a fight, there's usually mutual blame.
Devers is not the first prima donna player in the majors, right? On the other hand, most players, once they've made their money, would be willing to switch positions if it helps the team, right? Jose Altuve is playing left field. Mike Trout is in right field. You go down the list. Aaron Judge would gleefully played center field for a while. That Alex Bregman probably would have moved to second if you had asked him. That's just kind of how winners win. And I think the Devers stuff was just a bad look on his part. But also Devers is a clutch hitter. We've seen this as Yankees, right? I mean, Devers has a ring. Aaron Judge does not have a ring. I think this is just a pattern of the Red Sox being cheap. Like they traded away Mookie Betts because they didn't want to pay him $400 million. Well, guess what? That was a great contract for the Dodgers. They traded away Xander Bogaerts, or I don't know if they traded away, they just let him go. They traded away Chris Sale and he won a Cy Young Award.
All right, but Chris Sale I'm not here to defend the Red Sox, but he's also injured for about 30 years in between.
Sure, but and they said, oh well, he had a good half season. I guess we can find someone to take him, and someone took him, and he won a Cy Young, right? You're the Red Sox. The Red Sox of 10, 15 years ago would have said, we're going to spend a ton of money. Some of that money is going to be wasted, and we're going to go and try to win a World Series. And they haven't won 500. They haven't won 82 games since the pandemic, I think. And I think 2021 through today, they are below 500 for a big market team with aspirations. And they got
aspirations.
What's that?
Supposed.
Well, look, I mean, this is a team that won a lot of World Series in the last couple of decades.
Right, and under a different management team.
Yeah, and if I'm a Red Sox fan, I'm pissed, right? And I think it's a good day to be a Yankee fan, right? The Yankees, their biggest nightmare is gone.
No, fair enough.
I wish they had traded him before the series. I guess he wasn't that great in this series, but trade him before the last series before this, right? Because Devers, I think it was during the Sunday game, Michael Kay had a graphic up, and And the graphic was, number of home runs, active players, number of home runs hit against the Yankees.
Oh, I know. He's got like 105 and everybody else is 7.
It was like Devers by a mile. And Michael Kay is like, Vlad Guerrero Jr. is number 2, and he's not even close. Like, damn, this guy just owns the Yankees. And 3 hours later, he's out of the division. He's out of the league. The Yankees don't have to see, they've already played the Giants. They don't have to see him again this year. And by the way, the Red Sox are going to San Francisco next week.
That'll be fun.
That's going to be real fun. It's nuts. And I think, I have my criticisms of Brian Cashman. I think some of those are fading away. I think he's done, I think this season he gets a lot of credit for. And this team he's put together, which I really like a lot. But this kind of stuff hasn't happened in the Yankees. I can't remember the last time the Yankees had this kind of drama with a player. Like A-Rod stuff, kind of. But like the Yankees just haven't had that kind of falling out with a player who just decided to be me first. And it's part of the players that they acquire.
But it just didn't make the news. Last year, Glaber, they said go to third base.
Yeah, Glaber was a good example of that. And to me, the only real difference between Glaber and Devers is that Glaber didn't have his contract yet.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I that you're right. I think Glaber is a good example of that, but it didn't blow up in the same way.
It did not blow up. And Marcus Stroman did the same thing. We're going to have you pitch in the bullpen. No, I'm not.
And now he's saying he's going to. Right, he's rehabbing right now, and he says, "I'm going to pitch in the bullpen."
Oh, because he's not even in the major leagues right now.
Well, right, and I think the Yankees gave him a shot, and he failed. Right,
and he failed last year too, through the whole second half. Let's move on, EJ, because I want to get your take on this one. I think this one we're going to be in agreement on. I think the Yankees have, let's just say, 4 guys here to play the outfield and DH. If you want to put in the Goldschmidt, Ben Rice, they're really the first baseman. Let's just compartmentalize. Bellinger, Judge, Grisham, actually 5 guys, Stanton, and Dominguez. Now, you wrote an article about a week ago in which I think I agreed with all the points. So we're sort of talking about that same thing. But now Stanton is back.
Yep.
He starts today. A righty's on the mound. And instead of giving Dominguez the start, the Yankees are starting Grisham. Now, Dominguez missed time during COVID. Then he was injured the last couple of years, various things. He's missed a lot of time. You can make the argument he shouldn't be playing against a lefty because he's struggling so much. But you could also make the argument that he needs reps in order to not be struggling so much. Should the Yankees ever be sitting Dominguez so that Trent Grisham can play, or sitting Dominguez so that Stanton can play?
So two questions, right? What's the best lineup to win the game, and what's the best lineup for the long term, right?
So is Grisham ever the best lineup to win a game?
I think both Grisham and Dominguez have been struggling lately. Grisham, if you look at his numbers, so early in the season he was hitting lefties well, and he's just been hitting lefties 0 over the last couple of months. And his righty numbers are pretty good.
Run since May 15th, May 13th.
Yeah, the Grisham and Dominguez has hit like 2 extra base hits during that time too, right? Like they're both in a slump. They're both really only good against righties. I think it's debatable. Honest people, good people can disagree on, smart people can disagree on whether or not that's the best lineup to win the game. Now, if there's a tiebreaker, you go, well, Dominguez is a long-term player for you, and maybe you'd rather him play. I think that this is just the obvious case to send down Dominguez. I think that Dominguez has been good this year against righties. His numbers have fallen off recently. His defense has been awful, and he has been unplayable against lefties. And to me, that is a major league player, but barely. He's a half a win player so far by Fangraphs wins. That is below average. He's a below average major league player. Now, part of that is that he's been playing against lefties and shouldn't, right? Like there's basically no case to play Dominguez against a lefty if you're trying to win the game other than, develop him. And so his numbers are down. And if he's only playing against righties, his WAR number would be higher because he's just so bad against lefties. His defense is bad, period. Right? He's one of the worst defensive left fielders in the game right now. And so I think that there's room for him to improve in the minors. He's still only 22 years old. Like he there's a world where he's in the draft as a college player playing the College World Series right now. And we forget that because he's been around for so long, and we first saw him in the majors 2 years ago. And so we're kind of impatient. We want him to come up. He's also optionable, and Grisham isn't, or at least isn't going to be optioned. And so I think that's what I would do if I were them. This is assuming you're going to play Stanton. I think that there's like a pecking order argument that Stanton has a spot to lose just because the last time we saw him was the playoffs. I'm not sure that's right.
So he's got to get 100 at bats.
He's going to play, and maybe ends up being just against lefties. But for now, they're going to let him play a lot. Maybe not every single day, but close to it. You still have Rice, right? You still have Bellinger. You still have Judge. You still have Grisham. You know, like there's just something has to give. You know, with one extra player, you can start to shuffle guys around. But now you have two extra players, so two guys are going to sit every day, and it's just impossible to get those guys playing time. And I don't think anyone else benefits from being sent down. I think Rice benefits from being sent down. I think Rice has been really good, and I think been a little bit unlucky lately. And the numbers suggest that he, you know, if he keeps playing, keeps getting, you know, reps, that those numbers are going to, the real numbers are going to come back. And the overall numbers are just better anyway. I think that there's a good chance that Dominguez goes down. Maybe he uses the time to ditch his right-handed swing and just hits against lefties. Or maybe that's something you do in the minors.
I would do that.
Takes a lot of extra time to practice in left field. And then he comes back up and is, you know, the good version of himself. That happens all the time with players.
Yeah, there was a day, we've talked about this and everybody knows this, but there was a day in 1995 when the Yankees sent down two kids who had been in the major leagues. They sent down this kid named, he was a shortstop, I'm forgetting, Derek Jeter. And they had this other kid. They sent them down on the same day. This other kid, he was a pitcher, Mariano Rivera, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Judge was 24 years old, so 2 years older than Jason Dominguez. He was called up and he struck out like 40% of the time. Right, he had a home run in that first game. We all remember that, but then he was awful for the rest of that year. In fact, Gary Sanchez was the story of the 2016 kind of late 2016 season because he hit like 25 home runs in like a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came back. He worked on some stuff. He came back as a 25-year-old and won the Rookie of the Year and almost won the MVP. I think that there's a world where that's Dominguez. There's a world where Dominguez is a diminished version of that, but is still good. Maybe there's a world where he's just a platoon player long term. But I think that there's still room for him to improve, and there's room for him to do the development thing at the minors. He still doesn't have that many reps at AAA in the great.
Yeah, I know that's part of the problem. So he needs to have at bats. He needs to play.
Yeah, and he needs to be able to play against lefties. He needs that's all reasonable. And look, if he's still going to be there, you can still call him up in a month. If Stan struggles, you can call Dominguez back up. I think it is the right decision. I'm a little surprised they haven't done it already, frankly. I saw that Oswald Peraza
roster move, and they could get rid of Pablo Reyes.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that they don't have a fourth outfielder if he goes down, and so Oswald Peraza started taking reps in the outfield. I think just as kind of an emergency outfielder. That makes a lot of sense to me. I wouldn't be shocked if that's part of the solution. Is that your bench outfielder, truly a bench outfielder, is Peraza. Or you go and you trade for some random fourth outfielder that you don't mind getting rid of. Yeah, I think something like that is very plausible. But the thing I really don't want him to see is on the bench. And look, it's the ninth inning. It's a 0-0 game. He has not pinch hit. Oh, he just pinch ran for Stanton. He's not a pinch runner, right? That doesn't help him.
And Stanton doubled. How about that?
He's 2 hits, right? Like, look, I'm willing to give Stanton a chance. I think he deserves.
You have to. But
after that postseason, you have to, or at least like if everybody was as high as they were in May, I'd say no, don't just let him down. But I think there's a reason why they said like a week ago, the guy's ready to go, right? It's because the guys aren't as high as they were before.
Nobody's hitting.
Yeah, and so the opportunity cost of trying to seeing what you got with Stan is low. And maybe the half season off helps him. Maybe that keeps him fresh, kind of into the second half, into the postseason. I don't know. Still don't really explain what the hell happened. What happens with Stan? Why he's magic in the postseason, as good as he was. So look, to me, LeMahieu is still the one where I go. I just hope that they realize he's not very good, so that they can call somebody up. They can trade for somebody. And I worry when he had a kind of a good week last week, and he's had a bad week since then. And so his numbers are back down in the dirt. But I worry when he goes on a hot streak that they go like, oh, well, he's fine. We can't get rid of him.
Well, yeah, look, he's back. He's the machine again.
Well, I mean, right now, we haven't talked about weird stuff of him still playing second, but he has a 707 OPS as an average major league hitter. He's your ninth hitter. He's an average-ish, I'd say, defensive second baseman. It feels like he's been fine out there. He doesn't have a lot of range, but the balls he gets to, he does well. But that's just not very good, and I just don't have any confidence that's going to persist. I would rather go out, and trade for someone who's younger and better, and add something to this team. But besides that, like I'm not panicking after being swept by the Red Sox. I mean, they just swept the Royals before that. The Royals have been a better team this year than the Red Sox, and better team last year than the Red Sox. And so, like, it'll be fine. Like, this happens. Good teams go into slumps. In the age where a 750 OPS is the best offense in the league, you're gonna have weeks where you're not hitting very well. Like, for example, Aaron Judge struck out a lot against the Red Sox. I think he'll be fine. He's hitting a mere 380 now.
Yeah, so he's not going to hit 400 at this point.
So probably not. No. I mean, look, the thing we said is like the problem is when you're hitting 400 for 2 months, it feels like the goal is to hit 400. Whereas if Aaron Judge hits 350, that is miraculous.
Yes,
right. That is amazing.
100%. No, but
in today's game,
30. Has he ever hit that high? I don't think so.
He almost won a batting title, or he hit 322 once last year.
Right, so if he hits 350, I mean, it's just absurd.
Well, and I believe he's on pace for about 58 home runs, right? Like, and he's slugging 756. We should not be surprised that he is only now having the second best season of all time, right? Like it is amazing, and it is not. And by the way, he just had a slump, right? His numbers could come back up.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't read into any of that narrative of him not playing very well. Chisholm's come back, and I think he's looked great. And I actually kind of love all these quotes from Chisholm about swinging at 80% or whatever. Like, that's fascinating. Right. Like that to me, I mean, it's not literal. You don't literally swing at a lower percentage. But you take a little bit off, you have a little more control, and Chisholm has been like excellent, and he's not hitting a lot of home runs. He hit some home runs, but he's hitting doubles and singles and normal baseball player stuff. Whereas earlier in the season, he was hitting home runs and striking out. And so like, I feel really good watching this team right now. It's 0-0 right now in the bottom of the ninth. Maybe they're going to lose this game. Maybe not. We'll see if it goes to extras. They're not great at extras.
They're terrible in extras.
It's amazing. It's amazing how bad they are in extras
for years now.
Yeah, it's and different players, right? This is a more athletic team. They should be better in extras, but they're just awful. Different
players, but the same guy in the dugout.
I think that's part of it. I think part of it is just, I wouldn't read too much into it, but like it's the man for man situations are weird. You don't build a team for them. It may be the case that good players are bad at those situations because they're not bunting and they're not.
I'm going to go out on okay. Oh no, Volpe grounded out, and they got them. I'm only watching it on ESPN Gamecast, so I'm just reading the words. But Volpe grounded into a fielder's choice to third. Dominguez out at third. So now you got Volpe at first, I guess, with 2 outs instead of Dominguez at second with 2 outs. I mean, did you see the play? Do you know what happened?
I'm watching it right now. Really good play. Dominguez was aggressive. He went for third.
On a ground ball to the left side?
Yeah. I'll tell you that was a good play by the Angels. I mean, he was going for the steal. So he goes to steal. Volpe hits the ground ball, and essentially instead of a catcher throwing it to the bag, the batter threw it to the bag with a hard ground ball.
Oh, all right.
Got the tag.
It wasn't a boneheaded play.
I mean, it's basically a caught stealing. I mean, Dominguez was flying too. Like that was incredible. And like literally the ball could not have been placed better by Volpe to thrown out. Volpe also just stole second.
All right. So they got a guy on second with 2 outs.
But wow, that is a play. I tell you, when we're done with this, go watch that highlight. That is an incredible play by Rengifo at third base. That was fantastic.
All right. So I was going to interrupt you because again, I'm watching this on the ESPN. I'm just getting words. This was Volpe's at bat. This is 100% honesty in telling the truth on a podcast, because I never lie. If I think something, I'll tell you the truth. I was about to say the Yankees are going to win right now, and I was interrupting you because I wanted to say it before it happened. Volpe, foul ball, then ball 1, ball 2, foul ball, foul ball, foul ball. And I'm saying, all right, that was on a cutter at 93, a cutter at 94, a cutter at 94. Guess what? You foul off 3 in a row against the guy's best pitch, it looks like. He's going to get a hit here, and the Yankees are about to win the ball game.
Yeah, no. He had a pretty weak. That was also not like one of those hard ground balls that you say like, either that's a double or a double play. No, that was a 68 mile per hour ground ball. Just perfectly placed as if the catcher had thrown it. But he's still second, so maybe Austin Wells can bring him in.
Maybe Austin Wells can do it.
Yeah.
All right, here you go. Austin Wells has hit back-to-back foul balls.
There you go. Right. So like he fouled it back, so he's just on it. Right. He almost hit a home run with that foul back right there. I think I'm starting to think more about the trade deadline with this team, and the problem with this team is that because they're so well rounded, it's really hard to upgrade. Like who do you get? LeMahieu is the obvious guy to replace, but other than him, and you got to find a second or third baseman. Other than him, you got to really get a star to improve a spot on this team. And obvious names don't really jump out to me. I think it's going to be pitching. I think you can improve the rotation. Even if Luis Gil comes back, you have room to replace Yarbrough and Will Warren. And Gil might not come back, right? Gil might not come back healthy. He might come back as a relief pitcher. Who knows? And
Gil was good, but he went through a period, and no one expected him to be this good. And he does have a problem with location and walking a lot of guys. So it's not like he's automatically going to be.
He is a less reliable rookie of the year than you would expect, given the award.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, there was a point in time where Gil was so dominant that he looked like an ace.
Oh, there was a couple of games in the beginning, but that was early in like May.
I think if you told me Luis Gil is going to come back and pitch like 80 innings with a 2.8 ERA, like I'd believe you. If you told me he also walks 6 per 9 and is unplayable in 3 weeks, I'd also believe you.
Mm-hmm.
Those are both equally possible.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like he's not a sure thing. So if the Yankees could,
you should go get a starter. You should go get a starter, right? Like you could go get Chris Sale, who's going to be available because the Braves are awful. Again, you talk about like the success of Brian Cashman of not having a losing season in almost
struck out
in almost my lifetime. The Braves came into the season as one of the World Series favorites. One of maybe the favorite to win the NL East. Really well-rounded team. Widely regarded as one of the best GMs in the league, just great. And they're bad. They're just well below 500. They're a terrible team. And by the way, they still have the reigning Cy Young Award winner who's still healthy. They got Ronald Acuna back, who's been good. And yet this is still a team that is, what's their record? 31-39, right? They're probably finishing below 500 this year. And definitely not making the playoffs. And they're going to be sellers in a month. They're going to have to sell the guy who just won the Cy Young because that's what you do because he's going to be a free agent soon.
So what's Sale's record this year? What does he look like?
So Chris Sale, he's an ERA under 3. I know. Let's take a look here. Let's bring up the actual stats. He has pitched 80 innings in 14 starts. He has an ERA of 2.79, 2.2 wins, 12 strikeouts per 9. Basically, he's Cy Young Award winner Chris Sale. If Paul Skeens didn't exist, he'd be the favorite for the NL Cy Young, or he'd be up there.
All right. So Would you trade Ben Rice for him?
I don't think I'd trade Ben Rice. I do think I'd trade a lot. I think, the thing about Ben Rice is that I think Ben Rice is probably your first baseman next year, and you need a first baseman next year. And you trade him, then all of a sudden you have this big hole. Frankly, I don't have a lot of faith in Paul Goldschmidt right now, at least against righties. And so I think you need Ben Rice this year. Jason Dominguez. I don't know. I probably still say no. But I'm closer to a yes than I was a couple months ago. Just because if he ends up as a platoon bat, there's a limit to that ceiling. If he ends up as a bad defensive player, he ends up as like a Teoscar Hernandez ceiling. And Teoscar Hernandez is a good player, but that's not a great ceiling. And so,
but you'd be trading Dominguez at 22 for just a half year of Chris Sale.
Yeah, I'm still a no, but I'm not a hard no, right? I'm thinking about trading Dominguez, right? He's a player that I would consider as a potential, because you could go out and sign Kyle Tucker, you could re-sign Cody Bellinger, you could re-sign Trent Grisham, right? Like you have options to fill those spots, and Dominguez may not be the best option there. And outfield is nice because there's more outfielders out there than there are in any other position, and so you can find guys. I would hope, and they couldn't find a left fielder for a while, but you could hopefully find guys. So I don't think I trade him. I don't think you need to trade him to get Sale. I think there's other guys out there that
George Lombard Jr.
Yeah, that kind of trade I think is much more likely. Pure prospect trade, or you throw in a Luis Heel or something like I think that there are pieces you could imagine trading for Chris Sale. And there's other guys that you can imagine that the Braves might want to get rid of. Marcelo Zuna, it doesn't really fit in the Yankees, but he's probably getting traded. Man, I mean, Verdugo is actually batting, I think, okay for them. They have a closer, Raisel Iglesias. Aaron Bummer would look good in this team. I could see it. There's a lot of teams that are selling that weren't expecting to be selling. One problem with selling teams is that bad teams don't have a lot of good players. And so they don't generally have much to do with the trade deadline. They don't have a lot of guys to sell, or they want to hold on to their young, good players. So Garrett Crochet didn't get moved at the deadline last year because, even though he was a good player on the White Sox, and they didn't have much else. I think that the Orioles, the Braves, the Diamondbacks, the Reds, all teams that were expecting to be good, the Red Sox, but end up being kind of outside the playoff picture, they're going to be interesting sellers. They're making it fun to be a buyer, right? The Red Sox aren't going to sell. The Red Sox and the Orioles probably aren't going to sell to the Yankees, but by them being sellers, the supply is high enough the Yankees can go get somebody from the Diamondbacks or the Braves or something like that. And I think there's players on these teams that would look good as Yankees. Zach Gallen, I think, would be an interesting pick for the Yankees. He's kind of having a bad year, but would be a fun player. Eugenio Suarez would be one of those upgrades at third base. Like, we can go down the list. More interesting than last year's trade deadline, where the only sellers were the true bottom feeder teams. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I think the Yankees are going to be buyers. I think they have the prospect pieces to at least make some interesting trades. Their farm system's having a good year still. And the real problem is just like, how do you upgrade? Like, is Ryan McMahon from the Rockies that big of an upgrade over LeMahieu? Maybe. I don't know. Like, maybe he's better after leaving Colorado and on a smart team. But is it that, like, how much of an upgrade? Is it half a win over the remainder of the season? Maybe. And so it's either star players, or you get a couple of supporting pieces, maybe a bench bat, right-handed bench bat, maybe Rob Refsnyder comes from the Red Sox. He's going to be a free agent, I think. That'd be fun. And then you call it a day. I'm very curious to see what happens. This is not a team like last year at the deadline. You needed guys. You only got Jazz Chisholm last year, and we were unhappy. Whereas this year, I mean, maybe there's a Jazz Chisholm like deal out there somewhere, but it's not obvious to me who it is.
No, I have no clue. I think your idea of Chris Sale makes sense.
I think an ace starter is the big deal I can see. And it could be Sale, it could be Freddie Peralta on the Brewers. It could be Paul Skeens. No, that's not going to happen. Luis Severino from the Athletics. That's not going to happen. I don't know who all these teams are talking about. One commonality is they don't have a lot of pitching. But if I'm Brian Cashman, that's my priority, is go out and get a starter to play behind Max Fried. And then hopefully maybe a guy who could be a longer term guy. Someone, Freddie Peralta, I think, is under control next year. So he could then add him next to Cole, add him next to, and next to your existing rotation. Clark Schmidt, by the way, after a great start today, his numbers are excellent. He has a 3.19 ERA, I think, had 7 innings today. By the way, we are in the man-for-man situation with Jonathan Loaizaga on the mound.
Jonathan Loaizaga struck out the first 2 batters, and it's 0-2 on the guy.
There we go. Almost check swing safe.
It's a ball.
So almost had almost had it. And so the Yankees are going to have a chance to win this in the bottom of the 9th.
Oh, is the inning over?
No. Well, they're one more strike, right? So if Loaizaga can get one more strike without allowing a run, then the Yankees will have the rare one quote unquote run extra inning win under the Manfred rules, the dumbest rules ever. The runner that scores will not be an earned run. Will be a fake runner, a zombie runner. But
he flew out, so we got to go to the bottom of the 10th.
There we go. Right now, bottom of the 10th. I think who made the last out? So do we actually have? Let's see, who made the last out? It wasn't Volpe. It was Wells, right? Wells made the last out. So Wells, not the best base runner in the world, not the worst base runner in the world. I think he's a little better than his speed at running the.
Who's going to be up? You're going to have DJ and then the top. It'll be DJ, Grisham.
Same as the 8th inning. What? A couple nights ago where LeMahieu couldn't get a runner over and struck out. I mean, is Peraza available on the bench? Would I pinch hit? Would I pinch hit for LeMahieu and then try to bunt him over, or maybe pinch run? Do I pinch run Peraza? I think you pinch run. I think you pinch run. You pinch run for Wells, and then you try to LeMahieu. I think reliably,
LeMahieu can hit the ball to the right side.
Yeah, I think so. He can get a weak ground ball to the right side. And so I think you keep LeMahieu in and you don't bunt. That's my move right here.
We're thinking the exact same way. Peraza goes in to run. LeMahieu hits a ground ball to the right side. You now have Peraza at third with 1 out. You have Trent Grisham and then Paul Goldschmidt. All Grisham has to do is hit a fly ball.
Goldschmidt's not a bad pick here, right? I mean, Goldschmidt is a guy who can hit a sac fly. That's not bad.
Well, now, that Goldie Grisham has to get on for that.
Or LeMahieu. Okay, well, let's. I'm watching this live here. By the way, I definitely go back and look at that Dominguez play. That was a cool play by the Angels.
All right, looks like they're not pinch running.
Okay. Well, I think while this is going on, one other thought I had. You have a really easy schedule coming up for the Yankees. The Yankees have had one of the toughest schedules in the majors so far. And it's like the Angels, the Orioles, and I forget one other bad team that they get to play kind of one after another. The Reds. Like I think the Yankees could run off some wins in the next couple of weeks and feel like in a better spot. They still feel fine. They have a decent enough lead, the Athletics, decent enough lead on the division. But if you can go into into July where the schedule gets tough again, with winning 8 of 10 or something, it seems very realistic to me. We got LeMahieu, one strike to LeMahieu right now.
It was a bunt too. He tried to bunt.
I don't know. LeMahieu doesn't strike me as a guy who's bunted in a long time. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't have bunted. Well, obviously we knew.
If you're gonna bunt, you put Peraza in. Unless is Peraza available off the bench? Yes.
I think so. I haven't seen it.
Yes. Yeah, he could have done that. I mean, I don't even know if Peraza is a good bunter, frankly. The deadline pick that I love is IKF because I think this is a situation for IKF. Contact hitter, either LeMahieu gets him over, then you pinch hit IKF for Trent Grisham, or IKF lays down the bunt. That kind of player is useful off the bench, and they usually don't have them because they just have a clogged up bench. They had a foul ball down the line that the Angels picked up before it rolled back. So we're in 1-2 with LeMahieu. Man, if LeMahieu strikes out here, that's a little rough. That's a little rough. I mean, if LeMahieu is on this team to do anything, it is to hit a ground ball to the right
To
side.
the right side in the 10th inning. This is his job.
Yeah.
If he can't do it, this is a problem against the Angels.
Right. This feels like a Ben Rice hero night to me. Ben Rice hero comes up with 2 outs.
Yeah, but no, he's out of the game.
I'm sorry, Paul Goldschmidt hero. Well,
Yeah.
That's fine too. I'm fine with that too. In fact, we got a righty in the mound. Okay, well, that's not
Ryan Zephyr, never even heard of him.
Never heard of him. He's an Angels. He's an Angels pitcher. All right, you're a second or two in front of me. That was a weak strikeout there too. I don't know, man.
I don't understand why you have your catcher at second base. You just need a run. Wells is not like super fast. You have Peraza. Put a guy there who can score on a single.
I mean, unless someone's hurt, it doesn't. You're right. It doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, Peraza did pinch run.
Did he? I didn't. I was just.
He's now pinch running.
Oh, now he's in.
Yeah. So I don't know what the logic is to pinch run for him now and not after the first out, but Wells is a good enough runner, so I think that's fine. Maybe he's in to try to steal third.
Maybe now because you're going to try to steal third and have a guy on third with 1 out. It'd be the same as the ground ball,
or to score on a shallow single. It's weird that you don't do it in the first place if you're going to do it later, but I guess there could be some logic there. Dominguez, Grisham takes a nice pitch off the plate. I wonder if they're going to re-sign Grisham.
Let's please not.
I mean, I think the question is, what's the contract? If he right now he's in a bit of a slump. Let's say he comes out of the slump, he has an 800 OPS for the rest of the year.
There's no way.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, he was hot earlier in the year, and
he was hot. Players get hot since like the middle of May. He's hitting 203 or something.
Yeah, well, players also get.
He hasn't hit 200 in the last 3 seasons.
Sure, but if he hits an 800 OPS, you need an outfielder for next year. And he hits a fly ball that's going to be a sac fly. I think.
No, not a sac fly to win the game.
Or a sacrifice, rather. Peraza takes third on the fly ball, but now we have 2 outs.
All right, so now you got a guy on third with 2 outs and Goldie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy about this Goldschmidt against righty, especially Goldschmidt's been in a slump lately. But I wish you had Rice right here, but I pinch hit him against a lefty, I think, so that made sense earlier in the game. Here we go. The Yankees are not good at these extra inning situations. It's a little crazy to me. It is, part of the reason is when you have LeMahieu and Stanton and Judge and Paul Goldschmidt, you start to have an old team. And so, the athletic game of trying to get the guy in from second without getting a hit is it's a little harder.
They're an old team now. Lumbering. Well, ball 1 looks like.
Yeah, good take by Goldschmidt, just barely off the plate.
I'm confident. I was going to go out on a limb with Volpe and say he was going to get the job done, and then he didn't. So I'm going to say Goldschmidt's going to do it right here.
That's a good called shot. It's a good called shot right there. Oh, wait. Caught on the warning track. Just barely, just on the warning track. Almost.
So, you know what?
That's a home run in some ballparks. I'll tell you something.
I don't make predictions and I don't bet. I never bet. My mom likes to say, like, come on, let's bet $1 on the World Series. I said, I won't bet anything. I never bet. I hate betting. I think betting's going to destroy the game with all these FanDuel things and all these other betting companies, Bally's or whatever the heck they do. And this is why. Because I thought Volpe would get a hit. I thought Wells might come through because he had a couple foul balls, and I was very confident in Paul Goldschmidt. The Yankees haven't scored in, I think, 105 innings now. They were shut out yesterday, and now they've played 10 innings. They haven't scored a run.
A lot, and it's rough to watch. I mean, Judge did not look good during the Red Sox series.
EJ, let's wrap this up so we can watch the win live when the Yankees walk it off in the bottom of the 11th.
Let's do it.
All right. EJ, this was great. As always, thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching the Start Spreading the News Yankee podcast. We'll be here again next Monday night live at 9 p.m. Have yourselves a wonderful week.